So, mate, hello again on a podcast. Did you ever think when we started out on this venture all those years ago? Did you think we'd make the 100th?
I didn't think we'd make 3.
Yeah, and that would have been an achievement because I did the first one on my own. So
so I was number 2 and that was it.
So you'd have only done 2. But here we are, like 100 in, which is amazing, isn't it? I think that's quite an achievement. Do you think that such an achievement would be worth some kind of opening of a bottle of champagne where we might make some noise to demonstrate that we're doing such a thing? I've never opened a bottle of champagne, so I might have to hand over to you.
Oh, it's difficult.
No champagne.
A couple of glasses here. Thank you very much, secret guest. Lee, it has been absolute pleasure.
It's been absolute. So it's been a blast. We probably should say it's an award-winning podcast.
Oh, well, from an award-winning CEO, we need to kind of log that, don't we? Yeah.
We won an award in our first full year of being a podcast because, for a range of reasons. One, IP is just such an interesting thing to talk about. It has multiple audiences. Clearly, it's got our members, but it's got anyone who's interested in kind of the creative, the inventive industries. Beyond that, we've always done stuff outside of IP. We've done kind of membership-y type stuff and those kinds of things. But also, it's got the world's best name.
Lee Davis and Gwilym Roberts are the 2 IPs in a pod, and you are listening to a podcast on intellectual property, brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Patent Attorneys.
We've had some amazing guests on, and as it's our 100th, it's no surprise that we've got a really, really good guest. But we should just leave it. I think we need to leave it just a little bit longer because I think I need to big this person up because he is one of the first patent attorneys I ever met. Can you believe that? And yet I'm still working.
But you're still here. No, I'm not surprised.
So I came to do an interview. I was kind of sought out by a headhunter, and they said, "Yeah, this is really interesting. This is a really interesting job." And I looked at the job description and thought, "Nah, it's kind of really not for me." I came, I did an interview. I met a brilliant kind of panel of people who actually were really quite interesting. I still turned the job down 3 times, and she's not on the podcast. But Catriona Hammer forced me to accept the job because I didn't understand at that time. I'd come from a world of further education. I knew what I was doing there. I'd created a professional body work from scratch, all that sort of stuff. Why would I want to come and be the chief executive of a bunch of mad lawyers who are kind of like insane scientists and also these extraordinary people who help people protect their inventions, except for the fact that there were people who interviewed me who really inspired me to want to come and do this. And I have to say that I am so chuffed that the person we're about to speak to is going to be our president next year, not least because he's the reason I'm here, by and large.
Before we introduce our secret guest, Lee, we're glad you joined. We still don't really know why you did it either. And the little clink right by the microphone. Lee, secret guest.
So Matt Dixon, I have lost count of the amount of people that I've spoken to, like at patent attorney events, said, "Oh yeah, I was on the interview panel." They weren't. You were.
I was. I remember it. I remember it really well. And we'd seen all these people. They're all the kinds of people that you expect to see for being CEO of the Chartered Institute of Patent Attorneys. And we'd had all these people that were all that kind of ex-military and that sort of stuff and very, very formal. Yeah. And then there was Lee. And I didn't realise at the time. Lee told me this afterwards. So Lee had been put in on that selection panel as a wild card.
As a wild card, yeah.
It's like we weren't supposed to pick him. It's like it was almost like there's a joke one. We talked to Lee about this, and I talked to Catriona after it, and it's like because Lee has got a background in what do we call it? Do we call it plumbing?
Associations.
Yeah, but do we call it plumbing?
I'm a plumber.
Yeah, he's a plumber. Right? And I just remember the conversation and we're like, he'd be really good. It felt like a really radical decision. Turns out, with hindsight, we've hired CEO of the Year. I don't know whether Lee's mentioned. Yeah. It's going to come as a surprise to anybody. Yeah, really. I was there. I saw it happen. I saw Dwayne manhandle him on the stage, which was about the only picture that Memcom published of the whole thing. They said, here's the whole membership was in, and it's basically a picture of Lee being rugby tackled by Dwayne. But I think it's been a real success. It felt like a radical decision. Certainly a radical decision for CIPA.
So I remember turning up for my. Sorry, this is your podcast number. Come on.
No.
But I remember turning up for my first day at work, and I turned up at CIPA, kind of made my way through the kind of funny lift thing that no one could ever really work out how to work and stuff like that. And there was a bloke kind of walking around in his cotton trousers and stuff, who I mistook for the cleaner. It was Chris Mercer. The legend who is Chris Mercer, who I love dearly, obviously. And so I had a great chat to Chris once I worked out that he wasn't actually the cleaner. And then I spent that week walking around CIPA trying to work out what it actually did. And I struggled to see a membership organisation. You could clearly see that CIPA published stuff and did it really well. Had a journal, did textbooks on its own and in partnership with publishers. It was a learned association, huge body of knowledge there. But I walked around and had conversations with people. No one had in their job description membership. No one was responsible for getting stuff right for the members. And I'd like to think that if we've done one thing in 12 years that I've been here, we've taken it from organisation I found, which was an organisation that had lost its regulatory role and was trying to find its way in the world as a professional membership association, and turned it into an organisation that is by and for the members. If that's all I ever kind of get remembered for, that'd do me.
It's gone quite well, wouldn't you say, Matt?
I think it really has. I do. I think it genuinely has. So I think we engage with members better. As you say, Lee, there was a time fairly shortly, I think, before you became CEO, where we'd gone from being the regulator. So it's like, oh, well, if you're going to be regulated, then you've got to be a member of this organisation. Yeah. So no one had to make it attractive to be a member.
You didn't have to sell it.
Yeah, you didn't have to do it. It was just, well, that's what you did if you were a patent attorney. And I think we've now made it. I think it's very, very pleasing that you see that if you are a regulated patent attorney, you also want to become a chartered patent attorney. You want to be a member of the institute, be part of that. So recently we did a call with a load of managing partners of firms. And I think my historical remembrance of those is sometimes it's been a bit kind of, well, we do this and we try and make sure that we're talking to the leadership of organisations because that's an important thing. But we were able to talk through a bunch of things that I think felt like we were doing what those managing partners would want to see from CIPA, as opposed to the things that were sort of doing. It's like, well, it's kind of nice to be there, but we'd like you to be doing different things.
And I think we've become more leader than we are reactor. That's where I would like to think that CIPA is. It's kind of, we have a radar, we see stuff that's coming along, we make sense of it, and we do stuff that's right for the members.
Well, and I think some of that, so there's definitely an aspect of your leadership that's done that. I remember when the CPTPP stuff came up, I think that's been a big thing. It's been a big success, but it's also been a big thing in understanding what we can achieve and how we might achieve it.
Not to be scared of stuff.
Well, not to be scared of stuff, but also realising, well, actually, we've got to be proactive about this. So when it's coming along and it's like, oh, well, this could be the end of the world and this could be really bad. And the approach we took was, all right, let's go for this. Let's do this. This is important. And I think that was a lot bolder and a lot braver than we've done before. We've had, back in history, we've had things like the Swan Report and stuff that opened up the profession. So we weren't the only people that could be could represent clients. We've done badly on a number of occasions, and this time we've done really, really well and saved ourselves. So, and I think, there's definitely a chunk of that's come from your leadership.
And it's great to have Matt. It's great to have Lee on our podcast.
It is. It's lovely. Really. Really.
Lee, so how did you get into this in the first place?
It was absolutely mental. So I totally going to answer it. So I'd making the mad choice to move away from further education, teaching and leadership and stuff to set up a professional body for FE teachers. Yeah, did that for a number of years, and then Palm, your recruiter, came along and just said the wildcard thing. Yeah, come along and do this. And I'm here by absolute accident. But this isn't my podcast, it's Matt's podcast. One of the reasons he's here, though, is because this starts in a pub and it ends in a pub. So it's always quite difficult to kind of plan ahead for CIPA presidents and kind of who's going to come next and stuff. And part of that is my job, having conversations with people.
It's an elective process, Lee.
No, it's absolutely an elective process.
But you do need candidates.
But you need candidates. You need people who want to be president. And Matt and I were in a pub one night and it was like, mate, for me, it's not closure. I'm not going anywhere or anything like that. But it'd be quite nice about now if you were president, because kind of you started this for me, and I'm in my ascendancy now. I'm at the top of my game.
You're the Lion King.
I am the Lion King of membership CEO. And I don't know, you were going through big stuff, weren't you? You kind of were.
Well, so I had the time. The thing is, I realised. So we've been out. We've been invited out by IPREC. They did an annual kind of meet members of SITMAR, members of CIPA and all the IPREC people. So we'd done that and we'd had a few drinks and we're in the pub afterwards. And I was saying, do you know what? And we were talking a bit, it was about one of the first things that had happened post-lockdown. And I was talking about, actually, do you know what? If I'd have known at the start of lockdown, then maybe I'd have gone forward as president. Because we've talked about it before in the past, and I've always been like, I'm never going to do that. That'd be madness.
Yeah, Gwilym says that all the time. Yeah, you will.
It happens to everybody. You just got to get the right time.
Yeah, I just need to grind them down.
And then you were like, well, wait, what about now? And then that was it.
Well, as on sec, so I kind of work in the background a little bit and work with presidents, and some I do more.
Never underplay the on-sec role, because what you bring is consistency. So if you don't really understand how CIPA works, you have the presidency, where you spend a year as vice president. To be fair, Matt, you've had a really busy vice presidency. You've been really heavily...
I might have made it like that, though.
Yeah, but it can be quite light engagement. And then you get a year as president, which is like full on. And then you get a year as immediate past president, which is quite light again. And so I don't want you to underplay the role of on-sec, because what you do is you bring consistency across the piece. You are the person who's around during that rotational presidency thing, and that's a really important job.
Very kind. What I was going to say actually is that, Matt, your energy's coming through already, and I'm really excited about your role next year for two reasons. One, because there's huge amounts of energy, because I don't have to do anything. It's kind of thing. I can sit back next year. Thank you.
Great. There might be some stuff.
Okay.
I'll do it. I tell you, well, one of the things, talking about immediate past presidents. So obviously Daniel's been fantastic as president this year, and what he's done, which, I mean, we were talking about this, like, it's astounding the energy that Daniel's put in to getting out there internationally and doing that. He does that in a way that I've not, and he's going to continue doing that. Because
we're not letting him off.
No, it suits him, and he'll be. I think he's going to become chair of the International Liaison Committee.
Yeah.
So he's got that role to do it in, but also as immediate past president. So he's going to do all of that, because frankly, he just looks better in a LinkedIn post than I do.
Is it the power stance? He's got the power stance.
He's got the power stance. He's got everything. He does it so well. I mean, he's good for the gram. So
hang on a minute. This is an audio podcast. I can paint a visual picture of you. It's pretty fantastic. We're going to get onto rockabilly.
Thank you.
We're going to get onto rockabilly later on, but I mean, we're talking a nice little D'Artagnan beard. We're talking
D'Artagnan. I'm thinking more. Is it Athos who's the big one?
Yeah. You name your musketeer. Everyone's favourite musketeer.
Yeah, he's all of them.
Is Matt Dixon.
Well, all of them.
All for one, one for all.
Like a bonus musketeer pack. Sorry, yes, you were saying, Gwilym. You were saying, Gwilym, about how amazing I
want to know.
I want to hear more of this.
What does the Musketeer pack come as a bonus to? That's what I want to know. Is it like a cereal thing or what?
The cereal thing?
No, there's Weetabix.
After you Monty Crispies.
There we go.
There you go.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's fine.
Lee, back to you.
I'm not listening. So one of the things I found quite interesting is the way that you've really grabbed the VP role, because I do think historically it's been a role where people come into it, they tread water a wee bit, wait to be president. Yeah, they do stuff.
Right.
They kind of go and be represented. But you've grabbed stuff. CPTPP was gone. That was happening over there. So what you saw was stuff on the horizon, which was UPC.
But that was also sitting round in a council meeting. So I've been on council 15 years, something like that. 15 years. And I've always been good for an opinion.
Surely not.
Yeah. So I've always been good for an opinion. And so we're talking about UPC, and I'm providing my opinion, which is, actually, this feels like a really important thing. And this is another thing that came out of one of those managing partners meetings. But
you're not being fair on yourself there, because you are quite consultative. You will go out and check.
Totally. But in terms of landing the job as the UPC task force lead, then that was Daniel going, if that's what you think, Matt, then maybe you should launch a task force.
Yeah.
But that's definitely, I mean, that's got to be the biggest thing for us.
But it's not just there, is it? And where I've seen a difference in you and other VPs, and this isn't to say that people have got VP stuff wrong in the past, and that it's just kind of the way it works, is you've picked up some of the UK IPO representational stuff. You've really come into this and said, okay, these are the areas where I can make a difference. A year down the line, I'm starting now, and I can't see your presidency continuing in that way.
You can't see it, or you can't.
I can't but see it.
You can't see it continuing in that way, because we're going to stop that.
That ends now.
Well, but it also, it's like you were saying, it's a year and it's a year. It's a really short amount.
It's no time to make it.
No, it's no time at all. So if you're going to do something, you've kind of got to start. I mean, we talked about the UPC thing being a 3-year task force. You've got about 3 years to do this. So start as vice president, lead it through, finish as immediate past president, having led that, and hopefully we've got somewhere. We've got the UK patent attorneys as a solid constituency of the UPC representatives, which I think is going quite well.
Yeah. So this is our 100th podcast. Unfortunately, we're going after our AGM, which is the time when you get confirmed as president, and you have a chance then to kind of like say what you want to achieve in the future. So we're kind of now, you're going to say it now, but think it back if you like, because the AGM's now in the past, even though it isn't. If that makes sense. What changes, Matt? What difference do you make?
So what difference do I make? So I think there's a job to be done with the leadership on the UPC. We don't, but I think that bears repeating because it's so important.
Yeah.
If we don't do that well, if we don't position ourselves well, then we could see the UK lose the kind of strong position that we've had, I think, or move into second place. So, and that's going well so far. There's an ongoing idea about diversity and inclusion in the profession.
Yeah.
So, been brought to the fore recently with potential changes to the EQE.
The EQE, yeah.
And we're looking at that, and there's this idea. So everybody should have to have a master's degree if they're going to do the EQE, and then
qualifier, 4-year degree. That
four year.
To all intents and purposes, when you can have a master's degree. Yeah.
Okay. And we're looking at that from sitting around a CIPA council table and saying that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, awful idea.
Yeah? Now that might be. I've got a 4-year degree. I've got a 4-year bachelor's degree. But I know there are loads of people sitting around that table. Yeah, that have got bachelor's degrees. And it's one of the brilliant things about being a patent attorney in the UK is the social mobility. You hear about other professions saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if you could train on the job and then you could come up and that'd be really good." Other professions are coming to that. We've done that for ages, and there are so many stories, even just around the CIPA council table, of people saying, I couldn't have got into a profession like this without that opportunity to finish university quickly and then start earning some money while I'm training. And you see those people. I mean, there are people who have got into a very comfortable position, have made a lot of money being patent attorneys and doing that, who have come from incredibly humble backgrounds and done that. And I'm really proud of that. That's proper social mobility, and we need that to continue.
100%.
So I think that's one of the reasons why our voices have come out loudly from the UK against this kind of idea.
But for me, there's also the issue that I understand that there needs to be a benchmark. Doesn't matter what it looks like, there needs to be a benchmark. But it can't be right that firms cannot decide who are the best people to be patent attorneys. That can't be right. It has to be the firm in thinking about who they recruit, how they recruit. It has to be their decision. We can't have a set of rules that stops us from being innovative and creative about who we choose to be patent attorneys.
So I had a very interesting conversation with a person that has published, that has put their head above the parapet. And I don't think this is the originator of this idea, but it's a person that's published a paper that says we think this is a really good idea. So I thought, well, let's engage. Let's see what's behind this. Let's understand. And one of the part of that discussion was, there's a load of things that you need to be a really good patent attorney. There's the kind of intelligence, the ability to understand complicated technology, the ability to get the right answers out of inventors, things like that. But we can't measure that. We can't test that. But we can test whether you've got a 40-year degree or not. So let's do that. And it's like, no, that's the wrong position. Because, and this was the discussion, I've trained a lot of very successful patent attorneys. And others have trained more. Gwilym, you'll have been in the same kind of situation. I've trained a load of people, and when you're hiring them, you're looking for the right kinds of skills, and when you're training them, and also if those people are not going to get it, if they can't do it, well, okay, they're probably not going to have a job anymore. That goes whether they're in private practice or in industry. I think the employers are doing that job. It doesn't all have to be done out of exams and qualifications.
The system is the filter. The system will out it.
The approach. The approach.
Oh, and the client. In the end, if you're doing the right job, and you've got your client, or if you're in-house, your team, that's who is the test, really. If you're doing a great job. Oh, and the patent office. I think that's it.
Well, but a slightly controversial thing that I realised in this conversation, in the conversation with the author of this paper, was I don't think I'd really realised, but if you're in industry, there isn't a requirement for supervision.
Yeah.
So you can do your 3 years working for an industrial company, so you could be absolutely on your own. Now, a lot of good and excellent people are in large industrial departments, they're being trained by qualified patent attorneys, etc., etc. But you could basically be the only person doing patents for this company and say, yeah, I've done 3 years of representing my company doing that, and now I've got that experience. And I always think of people having trained with someone that knows what they're doing and is qualified and experienced, showing them what to do. But there is that route to do it. And even if you come through as an EPO examiner, you've still got someone that's checking your work. You've got your boss there doing that, but you can do it without that. And when I thought about that, I wondered, maybe that gives you a different perspective on what's necessary from the exams rather than the ones that we would know from private practice. So, but that whole thing about social mobility, being able to get people through, I don't want to close that down. I don't want to make it more exclusive. I don't want to make it more like what I would see as the olden days.
So we can't, can we? The one thing we can't do is to make the profession more exclusive. And, because evidence tells us that there are lots of people who could be really, really great patent attorneys. And their backgrounds are, as long as they've got that good grounding in science, tech or engineering or wherever it is, they're going to do all right. They're going to be all right.
I mean, I think you can. So we've got a baseline that says that you need to have a degree. We didn't used to have, and I quite like that. I trained under someone. So I'll tell you, when I went for when I got my very first job as a patent attorney, a very good and august training firm. They used to have on the letterhead, they'd have all the partners, and each one would have their degree after it. And the senior partner, I think he was the senior partner at the time. So. And I can't remember if there was, I think this was second interview, and I said, I can't help noticing there seems to be a typo on your letterhead.
Oh no.
Because everybody else in here, it says, PhD, whatever, BSc, there's nothing after your name. He said, no. He said, when I learned to be a patent attorney, you didn't have to have that. So but he was an excellent patent attorney and extremely successful. I would be a fan of going back to making it easier for people to justify their technical knowledge without having without having to have a degree. I like that.
But we're stuck with the academic qualification system.
Let's take little steps before we try and change everything overall. But certainly, I'm very proud of that approach overall.
So what else changes? Is there anything else that changes?
Changes over the next year?
Yeah.
Well, so we've got a new set of rules of conduct, haven't we? We've got a new code of conduct coming in from IPREG.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that I think is really good. So over my time, I mean, I was thinking back at things that I've done as a council member. Yeah. So one of them was interviewing you.
Oh, thanks, mate.
And we've heard quite a lot about that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Oh, he won an award.
Did he win an award?
I hear.
You just don't hear much about it, do you?
No, I can't.
You got it right. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, all right, brilliant. Yeah. There we go. All right, that's the thing I got right. And then spent a lot of time battling with a version of IPREG that wanted to introduce a load of rules.
Hang on. I heard a version of IPREG.
Well, a version. No, I didn't battle with a version of IPREG.
I heard a version of IPREG.
But there was a version.
You battled with a version of IPREG.
That's the one.
Yeah.
There was definitely a previous incarnation that we found
I inherited a relationship with IPREG that was unworkable, and it wasn't about IPREG, and it wasn't about the distinction between representation and regulation. It was about people and personalities. I think that's fair to say.
Well, and there was an agenda there. I mean, there was an agenda there with people going, "Oh, crikey, there's this little profession, and they just need to do things properly,
buck up and do things
like what solicitors do, for example." It was like what I think is really good now is we've got this code of conduct where, to some extent, IPREG have been on the side of the profession and have advocated to the LSB and said, no, we don't. The LSB saying, well, we need all of these kinds of rules and these kinds of restrictions. And EPRAC said, no, actually we don't need that in this profession, and have gone effectively into bat for us. They're not our representatives, they're our regulator, but have really understood the situation.
But they've held a line, and that line is about being proportional and appropriate.
Exactly that. What that means, though, as these rules now coming into force in their full breadth, and I think today, in fact, aren't they?
Yeah, today.
So we're going to have to fulfil on our part of the deal. We're going to have to make sure that EPRA can go back to the LSP and say, yeah, we were right. We didn't have to be like that. And I think that's going to be a big change. And the bit that I'm thinking about is in what's under the heading of transparency.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But the advantage we have is that we are in a much better place in our relationship with IPREG.
Yes.
Yeah, we're doing stuff together.
Yeah.
IPREG recognises that we are the approved regulator, and we have conversations with them. We recognise they need to have the space to get stuff right, and we do it together. When I joined CIPA, the relationship was dysfunctional, entirely dysfunctional. We don't need to go there. We're in a great place now.
But CIPA was dysfunctional.
When I joined. Was it really? I didn't really see dysfunctional. I saw disorganised and.
I'm good. Sorry, this is podcasty kind of possibly travesty, but yeah, I think the profession kind of stepped back a lot from CIPA back in the day, and now we don't. Now we look at it. Now we've got people saying, "I want to be on CIPA, I want to be on council." It's doing
that's
something.
really cool.
It's really cool. It's your work.
I think I'm agreeing. I think that's what I'm talking about when you're getting positive feedback from the people that are the busiest. Yeah, those managing partners.
It's not rocket surgery.
It's not rocket surgery.
It's not brain
science. It's not brain science either. Neither of those.
You just go out to your members and you talk to them and you try and get it right. It's not hard.
You do. You try and use the right words, the right phrases.
Lee, don't talk to the members. That's
I entirely use the right. When I say it's not rocket surgery, I know what I'm talking about.
Good.
No one sticks a Band-Aid on a Musk missile.
So,
great. Okay.
I'm sat back listening and enjoying, but so Matt, we've talked about a few
do some work.
Just don't need to. So Matt, we've talked about your kind of some of the things that are really important to you, and again, I've seen the energy already, and I'm personally really excited, not just because I can sit back and I've got an easier head, but I mean, what's if you were to kind of sit with a member and the member says to you, Matt, what am I going to bring? What's your plan? What do you how do you want to enhance CIPA over the next year? A few kind of keywords.
Enhance CIPA as an organisation.
Enhance the membership and bring value over your year.
That's like an interview question, isn't
it? Yeah. And you want to watch out?
I've answered this question. I can do it again.
Yeah, whatever he said at that interview. Yeah, I don't think that's my job. I don't think that's my job as president.
No, it's my job.
Yeah, it's Lee's job as president. So what am I going to do to enhance CIPA? I'm going to take that one and I'm going to pass it straight over to Lee. My job's to set the what I think it's important. It's my opportunity to say I think these things are important. So Lee's talked about me getting involved. You have as well. Talked about me getting involved in things. But there's a whole load of really important stuff that I haven't touched at all because it's there. It's being done well. I know it's important.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a few of my things and bring things forward. And like the other one that is like, and you and I are similar on this, Scott. Like the SME stuff, the actual patent attorneys getting into businesses and helping businesses. We do a lot of international, what you call international trade. Yeah, helping overseas businesses. We've got a strong reputation. It's a great thing and it's really important. Getting into businesses, and that's going to come back to this transparency thing. It's going to come back to, you've got to talk about money. You've got to talk about how much this is going to cost. What's it going to look like? Helping people understand what's coming forward, having no surprises. And we want the help and the support of the Patent Office doing that. I had conversations with the IPO about how do we do it, and there are more conversations going on about working together to make Britain better.
Thank you.
There you go. Make Britain great. No, we don't say that. My presidential address. Make Britain great again. No. Get some old hats.
Put the hat down. I mean, you must be looking forward to working with the CIPA team.
Yes. We should have the sound of a big cheers to the 100th 100
We should, yeah. And we should entirely
Raise a
forget
glass.
I've not answered this question yet.
Oh, don't you worry. Cheers, everyone. So, as we head to the end of the 100th podcast, I'll set it up. Ready? This. Lee, it's been a pleasure working with you on 100 podcasts, give or take.
Give or take. 99 for you, mate. Oh, no, 98.
99. It's been brilliant. No, thanks to everyone. Lee, you are a fantastic host. It's been a pleasure being a co-host with you. Let's do another.
Did he host this one?
I know it's been a mess, hasn't it? It's been a horrible mess. Let's pretend Lee was the host. And here's everyone to another billion podcast. Let's do it. Yay!